Okay, everybody, I'm going to take time to go through this packet and do problems that are real similar to things that you are going to see on the test next class period. So the first thing I want to go over is adding and subtracting. Don't confuse, watch this, with multiplying or dividing, okay? They each have their own rules, okay? So like, I know I haven't circled number one. I'm just going to do the problems I've circled in pink. But remember, when you're adding and subtracting, it's just like you've always done, right? Okay. So for this one here, you have to add together the like terms, okay? You got to like add those two together. And when I do that with adding, the like term is w squared. So I have 17w squared, okay? That's much different than going like 13w squared times 4w squared. Okay, if I were to do that, I'd go 13 times 4, and w squared times w squared is w to the fourth. So confusing, I know, but just know that there's a difference between the multiplying and the adding and subtracting, okay? All right, so we've taken care of that. We've taken care of that. Now we just got to go here and here. 9 minus 31, if you don't know that one in your head, you could certainly use a calculator, and you would get negative 22w. All right, 12 would be the same. Where did it go? So 12 would be the same. I have to spot my like terms, though. I see this one. Maybe just circle them when you start out for the adding and subtracting. Those two are the same. This one's different because it's not m2 and 1, right? So when I put 10, I have 10 here, and I have negative 1 here. So I go 10 minus 1, and I get 9m squared n plus 7mn squared. And from there, with adding, there's nothing I can do because they're like terms. Okay, find the sum of these two. So you have to know that sum, and this will come up on the test, is addition. So this is like, so when I add those, I get 11y squared. Okay, find the difference of 10x squared y and 2x squared y. So difference is subtract, so I'd go, and 10 minus 2 is 8, and then the like term is x squared y. Okay, that's all I'm going to do with the adding because I think that it's pretty easy. So going on to the next ones, 17 is like a level 2, okay? It just shows me that when you see this kind of situation, it's addition. So as a review, that's the addition one. And then when you have like, why can't I draw today? That's the multiplication one, okay? All right, so that's like level 1, knowing that that's just, or level 2, that's just x to the 5th. And then once you add a little more into it, now you start to get into like a 2 plus 3 type problem. Remember, on these, you multiply the numbers, and then you multiply the letters. Okay, just remember, numbers first. It's math. Of course, numbers come first. So I go 4 times 3, and I get 12. And then I go x squared times x to the 5th is x to the 7th. I know there's parentheses in here, so you might confuse it with the other rule, but really all this problem is that times that. Okay, when you see another x there, it's the addition one. 24 is definitely a level 3 type. So I'm going to multiply my numbers, and a negative times a negative is a positive. And then P9 and P2 adds 2. And then Q3 and Q6. And then for the R's, remember there's really a 1 here, okay? We don't write it because if we wrote that every time, it'd be really time consuming, but we don't. But it's 1 plus 4 for 5. shoot, I erased half the problem. So for the r's, it might help to think about it like this, okay? I have r4 and r, right? So I have r, this one, times r4, which is, and how many r's do we have? We have 5. Okay, now we're into a level 4, the fraction ones. Okay, so we're going to multiply the numbers. 6 times a half, or negative 6 times a half. So when we multiply it by a half, it's the same as dividing by 2. If you can't memorize that rule, I would just go negative 6 times 1/2. And then make this negative 6 over 1. And that gives me negative 6 over 2, which is negative 3. But I would rather just think about it like that's half of negative 6, so negative 3. And then a squared times a gives me a to the third. B times b is b squared. All right, 34. So now I got to multiply my numbers. I got to go a fourth times 8 times negative 6. And I just multiply the top numbers and multiply the bottom numbers. So 1 times 8 is 8. And 8 times negative 6 is negative 48. And 4 times 1 is 4. And negative 48 divided by 4, again, you can use a calculator if you don't know that, but it is negative 12. So another way to do that, if you don't want to write all that out, is just memorize timesing by a fourth is the same as dividing by 4. So if I go like a fourth times 8, that's the same as 8 divided by 4, which is 2. And then 2 times negative 6 gets me the negative 12. Either way, I get negative 12. And now I got to multiply my letters. M times m squared. N times n squared. There you go. Just that easy. Okay. I think you can get those. Maybe I didn't do one of those. I should do one of these. Okay. I want to do 36. So we got our addition here. So we got to figure out all of that and see if we can add them. So the one on the left is 4 times 5. And then I got a3 times a gives me a4. b4 times b2 gives me b6. And then I need to add everything over here. So there's really like a 1 here, right? So this is like 1 times negative 2. A squared times a squared. b5 times b1 is b6. And then I check to see if they're like terms. If they're not like terms, then I'm done. But since it's a4, b6 on both of them, I can go 20 minus 2, or 20 plus negative 2. Done. Okay, turn ahead to the next part, which talks about our other rule, which is the multiplying kind, right? 2 times 3 gives me x to the 6th. So remember, on these kind, the number one wrong answer is, see that a lot, okay? This whole thing is squared, which means I need to go 5 times 5 and then x to the 14th. So another way to write this is like when I distribute the 2, everything gets squared. Go to 9. Okay, this is a tougher one, probably level 3 or 4. So I need to take this to the third power, this to the third power, that to the third power, and all of them to the third power. The 1/2 is what throws people off, okay? It's not 1/6. Okay, 1/2 to the third power is 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2. And 1 times 1 times 1 is 1, and 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. So it's 1/8, and then the rest is easy. 3 times 3, 4 times 3, 5 times 3. Done. Okay, turn ahead to, let's see what I circled next. Okay, all the way to the dividing. Okay, so for the dividing, remember when we multiply the exponents, we add them, right? x2 times x3 is x5. When we divide the exponents, we subtract. Six. So 20 minus 5. 9 minus 9 is 0, okay? Or you can just think of these two just canceling out, but y to the 0, anything in the world to the 0 is 1, so those are just gone. And then there's a 1 here, so 2 minus 1 is 1, and we're left with just z. If you want to write the 1, you can, but you do not have to. All right, 13. All the rules kind of combined together. So this squared goes to both, and I got 3 squared. If you just want to write 9, you could. Let's just write 9, because 3 squared is 9. X to the 10th over 27, x to the 3rd. Okay, don't subtract 9 and 27. This is just a fraction like you've done, since probably elementary school. So we reduce that to 1 over 3. And then for the x's, we go 10 minus 3, and we get 7. Or some of you might have just put like 1/3. Same thing. $17. Big one. Everything gets to the 3rd power, so I got to go 2 to the 3rd power. And I got to go m to the 12th, because it's 3 times 4. N to the 6th. 4 to the 3rd. M6. And 3. Now I can't leave it like that because I got to simplify it more. So 2 to the 3rd is 2 times 2 times 2. 4 to the 3rd is 4 times 4 times 4. Use a calculator if you need to, but it's 64. And then I have all the other stuff. And then I'm going to simplify 8 over 64. I can divide both of those by 8. And 8 divided by 8 is 1. 64 divided by 8 is 8. And then I subtract 12 minus 6. And 6 minus 3. Or you could write 1/8. Okay, this one's real similar, but I'll do it anyway. We got to square everything, so 4 times 4. A squared, b4, over 5 times 5. A squared, b2. 16 over 25, I don't think we can reduce that, so it just stays 16 over 25. And those go away. And then we have b2. And I think that's it, guys. So that is a very short study guide video, but those are the concepts that you need to know for the test. So the best thing that you can do for this is just practice, 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 okay? So this whole packet, like anything's fair game, so just, except if there's any geometry problems on there, you don't have to do them. But any of the regular problems like these, just keep practicing them and check the answers on Canvas, because I have all the answers to these problems with the work shown on Canvas, okay? So hopefully that helps.